Alright guys, let's go over it. These are Diablo 4's most requested features that I've seen from the public test room that we recently had, and as a Diablo partner, I'm going to be sending this info to Blizzard so they can go ahead and use this as feedback, but I wanted to go ahead and give you guys kind of what I've seen in the comments as well as while I was playing the game with some other people from the stream, and this is kind of what I think most people want to see. So this is actually going to be in 3 different categories. We're going to talk about the easy fixes, which are just like number tweaks, and then we're going to be talking about other things that are going to be like more system design changes, and then kind of things that I expect to see maybe in the expansion and or further down the line, because these actually require a lot more time to develop. They can't just swap this really quick within the next couple of weeks before Season 4 does launch. So starting off with the easy quick fixes. So these are going to be across more uniques. I'm going to give some examples here, but unique items in general, even the uber unique items, are actually going to be quite bad in Season 4. And the reason why is because we have power creep that exists in the game. Now that we can craft 2 additional stats on legendary items, and on top of that getting the greater affixes to drop, and getting greater affixes on unique items as possible, it's just going to be much more difficult because, well, some of the uber uniques, well, we can't really trade the uber uniques, and on top of that, unique items are just rare in general. They are more rare than legendary items, but they're worse. So why are the more rare things worse? I could kind of understand if it's like a special skin, and the skin is basically what people are going for, but if that's the case, why are some of them so incredibly rare and so incredibly bad? And we'll go over some of the examples over here. But just in general, I think these uniques should be overhauled. They are buffing a bunch of them, but some of them are still really underperforming when you compare it to what's offered in the rest of the game state right now. So basically, some of them, I'll give some examples here, like Gore's Devastating Grips. If you've ever actually tried to play a Whirlwind build, it's pretty bad. Even in Season 4, the Whirlwind itself, okay? Now, if you add Dust Devils do amazing damage. But even if you add Gore's Devastating Grips, you compare that to just any Dust Devil Whirlwind Barbarian, it's night and day difference. This has no chance at becoming like even viable as an option for the most part if you are doing high tier content. If you're just like, oh, open world only, level 100, sure, a lot of these uniques can actually work because I think the game was actually designed around these specific things, whereas basically open world level 100 does it scale correctly, sure. If these scaled with monster level, that would be much better. That would be kind of a quick band-aid fix, but at the end of the day, a lot of uniques are just so much worse because you don't have specifically plus ranks to core skills, attack speed, and crit. Those are the 3 things that make an item really good in Diablo 4 for at least the gloves category. And specifically with Gore's Devastating Grip, you're supposed to get these extra bonus little like bursts of damage, and it has to wind up. But it is so far behind any Dust Devil build that it's just realistically not going to incentivize people to actually use them. And this is a brand new thing that got updated. And if you're going to be updating an item, make it at least usable for the people that actually want to try it out. Don't make it so worthless that it's like, oh, there's a new update to this. It doesn't matter. Otherwise, you just wasted your time on creating a brand new thing. And this applies to also Saboteur's Signet, which is a brand new unique ring. This is just coming out in Season 4, and it's terrible. If you guys haven't seen it, what it does is it has a chance up to a 30%. I have a perfect one in the gameplay, and you have a chance to summon these grenades, and these grenades work off of not lucky hit, but just a percent chance. I have a perfect 30% roll. Now, the perfect 30% roll does less damage than an aspect. I can throw on the aspect, there's tons of grenade aspects, and I could throw one on that gives me the grenades when I activate my stealth and break stealth, which will essentially proc at 200% because it activates 2 times, right? Why is the 30% one dealing less damage than the 200% one? That makes absolutely no sense from a game design point, especially when you consider that Flurry, which is a underutilized skill and that's been buffed several times and it's still underperforming, that you would have to run Flurry and get this unique, and it does less damage on the stun grenades than just an aspect. So buffs to Saboteur's Signet as well, and this applies to a lot of different things. So Isidor's Overflowing Cameo has been garbage since the launch of the game. If you guys don't know what this is, it is a sorceress item, but this applies to all different like multi-step builds. I'm talking about DMO, anything across like Diablo or any action RPG. When you have to activate something that spawns in something that you have to pick up that then has a chance to spawn a Nova, and it deals joke damage, that is a huge concern from like the game design standpoint of, okay, well, we have this build and it requires this and this and this to work. So it has to like work off of like multi-step things. It should do either insanely good damage or be much more consistent to do, because this build, requires a unique. It doesn't even open up till the end of the game. So to see some of these things be so underutilized and like they have less than a 1% play rate, they have these numbers, and more than likely these things should be buffed. So I'm trying to get them to actually, instead of making these unique items, these brand new items, and so many of these items existed in the game for a while, whether we look at like Tassus of the Dawning Sky or like the Soulbind, there's so many just terrible uniques in the game. These all need a massive rework. You could, as a quick bending fix, just get some of the numbers and just pump them up. If it's OP, let it be OP for a season, and then you can nerf it later. But some of these are just so incredibly bad that they become essentially junk. Unless we could salvage just regular uniques and we can get some sort of shards to craft uniques, that way, that's another quick band-aid fix. So something with the uniques need to be changed. Again, easy fixes are just numerical changes. This one actually I've seen across multiple content creators, and like even when the PTR was going on, people were complaining about this, and so you just remake new characters and delete them to get more veiled crystals. The cost was overall way too high for crafting. If you want people to actually play more than one class per season, because you should want them to play more classes, so when they visit the item shop, they may actually look at more than one class's skins. This actually improves not only, you know, the amount of money that could potentially be seen there, but also people to actually play your game a lot more. This is a games as a service. You want your players to play throughout the season and enjoy it versus, oh man, dude, it's just way too much. I don't even want to go ahead and make another class because I don't want to invest into farming all the veiled crystals. Or even another build. Rewards should be better as you go along. I'm talking about specifically in the pit. The pit is the new endgame system here. You're seeing gameplay of it. And as you go higher, the rewards don't really get better. You do get the crafting material, but after you go to about 50, it doesn't really matter that much. Sure, you get more materials for crafting, but it should be the hardest form of endgame content, with the exception of the Uber bosses. So why am I not getting better rewards as I am climbing up? So I think that one thing that would be nice is a higher chance for greater affixes, or even a small chance for Uber uniques or Uber unique shards, so you can continuously go in here, because it doesn't seem like you would continuously farm this area. You would farm it till you get your upgrades, and then, well, you would do other forms of content. There still needs to be more forms of endgame, but we'll reserve that for later. And also, when doing the pit, you shouldn't get punished for the players that are in the party with the player that's opening it. So how it works is the player that opens up the pit gets way more rewards than the other people that are just in your party. Why would you make a conflict of, yo, you opened up that one, it's my turn, I want to open it up, I want to get the good rewards. The person that opens up the pit, think of it kind of like whoever opens up the greater rift gets more rewards. I don't know why it's set up this way. You should incentivize people to play with each other, not like, oh, well, let's rotate on this, because then people would just rather play solo. Do you want the majority of our player base playing solo, or do you want them to play in a group? Ideally, in a perfect world, you would just have it so everyone is able to be on equal grounds, but then the players that are playing solo feel kind of left out. And this is a huge deal with doing any roto runs in general. But the way that the pit works, I think it's much better just to make it so you all get the same rewards. Because if you think about it, if you were to do, let's say, Uber Duriel runs, and only the person opening it up would get the reward, people just wouldn't want to play with other people. And you should always want people to play with each other. That's what an online game is supposed to be about, playing with other people, not playing solo. So it's kind of a hard thing. This one, it's kind of like a thing where I would say there are definitely going to be some people that want to say that it should be like this because, you know, the solo player experience is a lot worse. But the reality is this is an online game, and the way I see it is they want this to be more casual. You should be partying up with your friends and having a good time, not incentivizing people to just go in solo. So I'm curious to know how you guys feel about this, but I definitely think that getting less rewards for the player that didn't open it is just not a good system. And then also the bosses in the this is supposed to be the pit over here, the red moves, basically the red shadow moves, they do actually just way too much damage. You can have 60k plus HP, and it's way too hard for melee builds in general to defeat the boss on a consistent basis. Like right now I'm running Flurry, which is like a terrible skill, but it's also using like the starting range, so it makes it a little bit better. But at the end of the day, melee in general, this is just across action RPGs. Path of Exile has this problem too, where like melee just feels bad in general for a lot of the boss mechanics, because again, like I'm feared because I didn't get to move out of the way fast enough because I was DPSing. And honestly, visual clutter is a really big deal in Diablo 4, because if you've ever played the build with the Dust Devils or the brand new Frozen Orb Sword, I'm not even kidding. The screen is so cluttered up with stuff. I cannot see the enemies, explosions, the moves, and sometimes I will just get frozen out of that. And I know that they've been trying to reduce like the freezes and the stuns and stuff because people didn't like it. And then now it's going to be a problem again because visual clutter is definitely going to be an issue in Season 4. But that one, I would say there should be an option for party members, abilities opacity. That would be a really great thing. This would be a thing I can kind of make a side note here where I think that other players' abilities should be reduced in terms of like visual clutter. Like if my teammate is playing minions, maybe I could reduce the opacity so like I could barely see their minions versus them just covering up the screen. I can't see stuff, right? As far as the new Uber Lilith, I did the brand new Uber Lilith. There is a new rework Lilith, and the new Uber Lilith, once she dropped, 2 legendary items. Was I excited? Hell no. This is an absolute joke. So I would say for the very first time of defeating Uber Lilith, to make it kind of a milestone, because it's usually in some sort of seasonal like quest here, just make her drop a random Uber unique, make it exciting, make it so like, man, I cannot wait to do Uber Lilith so I can get that brand new Uber unique. You can see Uber Lilith is actually in some of these new shadow boss fights. These things just do way too much damage, by the way. That's what I'm talking about. But specifically making the difficulty proportional to the reward. So if it's harder content should yield better rewards, right? Why is Lilith something that you reworked not dropping anything good? Players are going to be like, okay, they did the rework Lilith fight. Oh, I've already killed her. I don't really want to kill her unless you drop something good, right? So you would essentially be wasting your time reworking and designing another boss fight when, well, there's really no point of doing it because, well, she doesn't drop anything good. So I think it should be similar to Diablo 3 system of once you do a T70, you get a, Primal Ancient. Just give them one random Uber unique, not a shard. Just give them one random one, okay? Let some people just get their first one, because there's people out there that still never have gotten an Uber unique. So I think this would be a really good way to kind of have like a seasonal journey here. And in fact, I think it'd be really cool to get one random Uber unique, or at least one Uber unique shard every single level 200 boss. I think that'd be a great thing, because even if we kill Uber Lilith, Uber Gregor, Varshan, Beast and Ice, and then Andariel, Duriel, that's 6 Uber uniques, but that doesn't guarantee the one that you would want. And I think that that would be kind of a good milestone for people to kind of use as a progression. Either, again, the shard would give you basically 1.5 Uber uniques if you were to give one shard drop off each one, and that could be a way to do it as well if you want to ease people into it. But at the end of the day, even if I get 6 Uber uniques and let's say I don't get the one I want, I would have to salvage, and that means I guaranteed only get 1.5. So I think that would be a nicer feature. Like, pretty much for me, I have every single Uber unique except for the Grandfather, which I could just craft, but I'm not playing a build that I really feel like it's necessary. But other than that, I've gotten every single one, and a lot of people, they'll be like, man, dude, you must be playing for thousands and thousands of hours. And the reality is that you just have to do a bunch of Duriel runs, and that's another thing I still feel like is not fun, which now we're getting into the medium, the things that I think may take more time to fix versus just, oh, add this to the drop pool, or just like a quick number change, right? I mentioned this also here. A lot of the uniques are just kind of bad. Even though I mentioned before they need to buff uniques, something in the defensive department, this is where like it becomes more than numbers. This becomes more like, okay, what are they going to be adding on this unique? But a lot of the defensive categories on the unique items are relatively lackluster. Like, there's not enough defensive stats on the chest unique items, and they just become absolutely terrible. Another thing is vendors, can we get good gear sometimes? Like, with the new system, vendors very rarely will even have anything good, because we can't even use rare items as endgame stuff. So, well, vendors just become worthless, right? And blue glyphs, these basically become worthless too. Like, make them do something. Like, what are the point of white, yellow, and blue items? What is the point? Just, like, delete them out of the game if they're going to be completely worthless at World Tier 4. Like, I understand it's part of the progression in action RPGs, but there's a reason why people always praise Diablo 2 for its itemization. When you have so many useless things, like, what is a blue glyph? What is the point of it? Like, why is it even in the game? It's so pointless. And even like if we go further into like glyphs, when they nerfed all of the attack speed nodes on glyphs, they're absolutely pointless to get. You could just literally delete them out of the game. No one uses them. So again, blue glyphs, make the numbers just way higher, or do something with them. Like, you could delete them out of the game. But I really think it'd be cooler, instead of just deleting them, to make them do something cool. Maybe they can give you crazy stats, but obviously they're not going to give you that, like, bonus X multiplier, or just make them have some sort of crazy unique effect, or have some sort of brand new unique item that says if all of your glyphs in your Paragon board are blue, you can do something crazy. You can get a new skill. You can equip items from another class. Something cool is all I'm saying to do with them. World bosses over here. World bosses are basically worthless. There's no point of really doing them for the most part because, yeah, you could sock it in items, but if they drop uber unique shard every time you do it, just a shard, that would make it kind of worth it. They can maybe drop other forms of currency. Basically, the world bosses are memes at this point. You insta-melt them. They are easier to kill than like a normal pit boss, and this is supposed to be the world boss, an epic thing where everyone joins in together. They're too easy, but if you make them harder, well, people aren't going to do them still if they don't give a good reward. So again, an easy fix to this would be kind of in the easier category, is either you just give us guaranteed uber unique shard, or you just make it so the bosses are way harder and they actually drop something good, which would, again, take more time. I still think that this is really terrible. Doing the Uber Duriel or Andariel is just not fun. To consistently sit there and be like, I gotta get a roto group and just do it again and again for 8 hours to get my stuff, and I have to do it every single season. This is the one thing I don't like with Diablo 4. If I want to min-max, you gotta do this thing because we can't trade the Uber uniques. I just don't think it's fun, to be honest. I think it needs to be kind of reworked. And then temper stones. So basically, after a certain point, you essentially brick your item. If you don't get the correct temper that you want, you have an item that is, unusable. If you're playing a build that requires some sort of bonus on a certain ability, and it doesn't hit the temper, and you finally get that godly 3 greater affix legendary item, and you're like, okay, let's go temper it, and it just doesn't hit that one thing that you need, it's worthless, and that feels really bad. So I think tempering stones could maybe even drop from the world boss, and that could reset the temper durability, because you get 5 durability. Technically, you get 7 chances at a crafting on it, but it comes down to it just breaking items, and 3 greater affixes are quite rare. Maybe their idea was just keep playing the game, guys. Just get the best super rare item that took you 1,000 hours to get, and then you go and you just don't hit it. That's kind of how crafting works in Path of Exile, but Path of Exile lets you kind of just trade everything anyways, so I don't know. I think that it'd be very nice to be able to at least reset at some point, because again, Diablo is designed as more of a casual game than, I would say, a hardcore action RPG, because remember, we have seasons too. It's not like this is like the item that we're going to be using forever, and they keep on raising the bar as far as our items. Like our items from the previous season, in season 0 and season 1, they're worthless because the item power got upgraded. Now all of our old legacy items are basically outdated now too, because, well, we cannot temper on the items, so those are all going to be outdated anyways. They keep on outdating our items anyways, and if we're going to have the system where we keep on saying, well, all the other items you had before, they're worthless, make it so we can actually kind of keep them. All right, these are hard fixes, so I don't expect to see these this time here, but I need to give them this info so they can actually kind of work on it. PvP, what's the point? There's like 0 people here. Can we have like a ranked mode? Can there be some sort of incentive to actually do PvP? I'm talking about, again, ranked mode, clan battles, you can wager gold, maybe you can wager uber uniques to go PvP. Something to make it so people want to go there. Whether you want to just add a bunch of goblins that consistently spawn in over in the area, and so people will fight over the area because that's the best area for loot, that would be cool. I think that would be a great system. Going into kind of the same thing, clans. What's the point of a clan? It's been several seasons, and I've been mentioning this several times, but I got to give time to work on something cool. But what is the point of a clan? Do we have raids? It's just a chat. Like, it does absolutely nothing. A Discord server is more effective than the clan feature in the game. I just don't think that there's a point of clans. Like some sort of weekly clan battles, PvP, something would be cool. It'd be cool to see the clan that does the best in the game, they get to create the new uber unique or something. Basically, incorporate some stuff from the community. The next thing I want to talk about is trade. Can we have either a built-in game auction house or an official trade site, kind of like Path of Exile, instead of using third-party tools that can get people scammed and maybe even banned because they steal the account or whatever the case may be? I think it'd be really cool to see some sort of in-game auction house or some sort of system. Now that we can trade, this is a huge feature that actually adds a lot more lifetime and longevity to the game when you actually allow people to go ahead and trade. Because there's a huge thing with Diablo 2. When I was done with playing a cold Sork, I could go and say, hey, I'm done with my cold Sork, let's go ahead and build fire Sork. And this was way more enjoyable to just trade all my items versus, oh, well, I have to just farm up all the items again. Again, if I'm done with my sorceress, maybe I want to build a druid or whatever, I could just trade all the items, and then I don't feel like my time was wasted. Remember, all of the stuff is going to be resetting every single season anyways. I'd really like to see some more advanced classes or some sort of new skill tree or something, even if it's a limited time event, like in the Midwinter Blight, we had that brand new aspect, kind of things that could be even limited time or some sort of thing where it's an event. You can even add some sort of thing to keep people entertained. I mentioned that, like, at some point we've played all of the core skills for our class, right? Like, pretty much how it works in Diablo, you pick the core skill that you like, and then that's kind of your damage, right? For the most part. To keep people entertained, because I feel like I've ran into the situation where, like, I've already built the Twisting Blades Rogue, or I've already played a Hoda Barb, I've already played X build, right? Like, people come off, and this is a huge thing with Diablo 2 and, Diablo 3 and 4. So they'll hop in, they'll play for like a week or two, and then they're just like, okay, I'm done, I'll wait for the next season, right? That happens too often. Versus other games, remember, this is a games as a service. So my suggestions would be really cool crossovers, okay? So because Diablo wants to use the idea of a battle pass, keeping people entertained, having these events, I think doing some collabs would be a really great idea. In Overwatch, we just had that Cowboy Bebop collab. And I'm not saying to add like Dragon Ball Z characters or any anime collabs, unless it kind of fits the theme, like whether they want to do Berserk and have like the Berserk's armor or the sword or something that fits the theme of it, right? So like, here are just some suggestions over here, making either items or even bosses from other games come in as some sort of brand new epic event that you can go ahead and do. And you could even bring things from the Warcraft series, Elden Ring, Elder Scrolls, or any IP, again, that would do well in this same sort of a setting, I think would be really cool. Another thing is the new gem changes is non-existent. I mean, this is basically the same thing. So I was hearing that they were going to rework the gems, and I'm like, oh, thank God, because it's basically, oh, you throw rubies in the armor, and then in the weapons you throw in the emeralds, and then, or if you're doing overpower, you can throw in rubies there too. And then you throw in like extra resistances for your jewelry. And then that's it. There's like no rework here. It needs more variety. These choices should matter versus like, oh, it's always the same exact 3 ones for the most part. There's some exceptions, like with thorns, you can throw in emeralds, but 99% of players are running the exact same thing. Can we switch this up a little bit? Can we add some variety? Maybe they can do different things. Maybe combos of 3 diamonds, 1 of these, unlock something else. That'd be really cool to have like some sort of combo. If you do 2 diamonds, a ruby, and something else, it's some sort of like other different power that you unlock if you do these combos. I think that would be a cool thing, so then people have to kind of decide, oh, well, I really want this other power, but I would have to sacrifice HP or something else to do it, because, yeah, you could sacrifice rubies to get main stat for some builds, for the defensive stats of getting plus life. It's pretty much just the same on every single build at the moment. Anyways, another thing is, with all of this power, we need a world tier 5. Like, we are gaining power, and I know that this was data mined a while back for world tier 5. Like, I actually have like the files for it, for like the images and stuff. There's going to be like different sets of gems. There's supposed to be another world tier. And my question is this only going to be coming out with the expansion pack, or is world tier 4 going to remain the cap for the rest of the game? Maybe world tier 5 is for the expansion. That's my guess. But here's the way I see it. Any action RPG is always going to increase your power. And the reason why this has to exist, because no one wants to come back feeling less powerful. That's one of the mistakes that they made earlier on in the game. They're like, sorry guys, we hear you. We promise it won't happen again. You don't want to go into any action RPG and feel less powerful than you did in the previous season. So even though we were going to get like the ability to have more power, what are we supposed to do with this power? Even a higher world tier, if the monsters just got tuned up a little bit, it wouldn't really add too much. I think we need another form of endgame content. While I do enjoy the brand new Helltide, and there's a lot of really great features with the season, I want to see something more in world tier 5 than just, again, these number stats. That's the way I personally see it. But those are the most requested features that I've seen that people have wanted, as well as what I've included in my own, and I've read your guys' comments on some of my other previous videos. But if I missed out on anything, let me know down below, and I'm going to be basically finalizing this and sending this into Blizzard as a Diablo partner so they can read and actually hopefully adjust some of these things. But those are things that I want fixed, as well as, again, my community. But I'm curious to know, what things do you guys want to see in the next season or in the future seasons, and I'll try to relay that info to Blizzard as well. But if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you're new here and you do want to see more Diablo and more action RPGs and other games, hit subscribe, turn the bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.